Welcome to the Catch Some Soulshine podcast, and I'm your host, Dawn Renee Bova. I'm here to share drastic self-care measures that will help empower you to awaken brilliance after life's darkest moments. I've discovered countless measures that help heal and transform you so that you can live a joyful, empowered life without feeling trapped in the past, without clinging to the opinions of others, and without fear of vulnerability in a community setting. I'm so glad you're here. So grab a cup of coffee because it's time to catch some soulshine. Today, I am joined by Cathy Catterson. You can find her at catherynecatterson.com, and those are all C's. I met Cathy through a group that we were involved in, and we are both best-selling authors of the Creative LifeBook.
Yep.
Okay. So anyway, Cathy is a musician, and obviously our podcast is Awakening Brilliance After Life's Darkest Moments. And she had experienced some very dark moments, and I read her section in the Creative LifeBook, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so good. So good. And then I reached out to you, and you sent me a musical piece, which was beautiful. I have been trying to get her on here, and here we are. So I would like you to share a little bit about what you wrote about in the Creative LifeBook without giving it away, because we'll let them get the book to find that out. Share a little bit about that, and tell a little bit about some of that darkness that you had experienced early on.
Okay. I am in section 41 of the first Creative LifeBook, and it's basically about overcoming anxiety in the moment. Anxiety is something that I've struggled with pretty much my entire life. It's breathing techniques and how to push past it so you can get done what you need to get done in the moment.
Yeah. I started doing some of that. What was it like? You taught me the in for 4, hold for 2, out for 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm going to try practicing that. And then my son was sick and he was in the hospital, and it just popped in my head. Breathe. Breathe in for 4, hold for 2, out for 4. And we just kept doing that over and over. And it's just crazy how something so simple
Mm-hmm.
can bring you down to a place of peace and stillness.
Yes.
And get you centered to go forward.
Yep, it just pushes right out of you, and it's amazing. It works so well. It's helped me so much. I did it today, as a matter of fact.
So you told me a little bit about obviously we all have dark moments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of us have experienced profound loss, like myself, but even if you don't experience death or grief, there's tragedy and there's loss that can put you into that place of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And do you mind sharing a little bit about, what you went through?
Absolutely. I got married very young. I was 19 when I got married the first time, and that was not the best of relationships and marriage. It was a very controlling, abusive, that kind of thing. And when we decided to split, my son was 2 and my daughter was 6 weeks old. When we split, he had my children taken, and I did not see them for months. It took me a long time to get custody of them back. He had kind of planned all that ahead of time. I got hit with all these things that I could not control, and with the anxiety and everything else, I was too afraid to do anything about it. And so he had the majority of the custody after everything was said and done, and he kept moving them farther and farther away and was trying to move them halfway across the country. I finally, after 10 years, was able to get them back and get the full custody of them. I was awarded full custody on my birthday, of all things, which was just amazing to me. It was just the best birthday present ever. And that was a long time ago, and they're grown and all of that, but it was really hard. I was in some dark, dark places for a long time because there was a lot of struggle with him, and I cried a lot. I cried a
Yeah.
lot, and it having that separation from your kids so much is really hard. And driving 2 hours one way to meet, and then having to drive back 2 hours by yourself and just crying the whole time is it was
Yeah.
really hard.
I mean, I think about that, and it's not only the trauma of divorce, whether it's good or a bad marriage, that's
Mhm.
still a really life altering thing. And then to have your children ripped away from you and having to muster up the courage to fight for that and not knowing what's going to happen. I mean, it's completely out of your hands. I can't imagine. I think that would be really hard and take a lot out of you. This whole premise is, well, one, you had to be resilient. And when you were talking about crying the buckets of tears, I did that too. Buckets and buckets. And I never thought the body could produce so many tears. But here's the thing, there's no way around grief. The only way is through. I truly believe when you've experienced something so tragic or life altering and you've gone to that depth of grief and pushed through it to get to the other side, that's when the miracles happen and you have the ability, it's a choice really, but we
Mhm.
have the ability to see life in a whole new light. In a way, as sad as it is for me to say this, it's a gift. I mean, I don't not happy that I lost kids and grandkid and all that, but it just makes me laser focused on the fact that our life is a gift and every moment is to be treasured. What are we doing to make it the best that we can make it? So
Exactly.
what are some of the things that you did during that time to one, get through the darkness because I know a lot of people get stuck. They
Mhm.
get stuck and trapped in the darkness. So what are some of the, we'll talk about some of the things you did to get through it and then we'll talk about afterwards later.
At that time, I did a lot of creative things, and a lot of it was simply to keep my mind busy. I've always been a very creative person in a lot of different ways. I enjoy a lot of new and shiny things that, oh, I can make that. So I was doing paper mache and things like that. And I'm trying to study and, reading lots of books on how to do this and how to do that and just keeping my mind busy. And at that time, I didn't have a piano, which just crushed me. But I would come and visit my dad as often as I could because he had a piano, and I would just sit there and play and play and play and not even have any music in front of me, just whatever came out, whatever came out of my hand. And that was, sometimes it was 5 minutes and I was fine, and sometimes it would be an hour and I wasn't done. And it was just, he would just let me play whenever I would just come down, and I really appreciated that because that has always been my biggest emotional outlet. And
Mhm.
even my parents always used to say that they could tell what kind of mood I was in by what kind of music I played and how, how loud I played. If I was very upset and very angry, it was very loud music, and it was just, and or it was very just soft and flowy, and just everything just pours right out of me. And that's always been my, I guess, my biggest expression and biggest way to relieve whatever
Yeah,
is going on in my brain.
I love that. When did you start learning piano?
I want to say it was like 2 or 3, maybe. I've always
Wow.
been musical as long as I can remember. My mom
Uh-huh.
used to say that I would sing harmony to music before I could talk. And that's always been, music has always been a part of my life.
Sometimes our sole purpose is evident from really, really young.
Mhm.
And sometimes I feel people find that purpose or that soul yearning later in life.
Mhm.
Because you found it very young, I think you could nurture it and lean on it and use it to
Mhm.
grow that skill and that talent. So then fast forward, you traveled through the darkness
Mhm.
and you got regained custody of your children
Mhm.
and then what happened?
After that, things started to get better. Of course, everyday struggles and things like that. Things started getting better. The weight was lifted. I was able to have a place that had a piano
Yeah.
and was able to start recording music and in the beginning it was all just a little recorder. I would sit on my piano and play, and then I would have to go in and try and recreate that in like music programs like Finale. So you've got all your sheet music and things like that. And that was great. And then, several years ago, my husband was like, why don't we get you like a full size keyboard, a MIDI keyboard that you can hook up to your computer, so then you can record your music like straight in, so it's all right there with all your emotion. And that was like the best Christmas present I ever gotten, because I have done more with my music since that happened than I think almost the rest of my life, just because it was so readily available for me to record it right there and have it.
What are some of the things that you do with your music?
I have a website that I put that on. I also have a couple of YouTube channels that I have been putting music into slowly and putting it to some of my photography and some videos that I've made. I'm trying to build that up a little bit. That kind of tends to go to the
Yes.
side. I also have been trying to get into meditation music and things like that.
Yes. I'm
Yes.
so excited. I'm so excited because that is exactly what I was thinking
That's,
for our
yes.
little project together.
I'm very excited about it. I think it's
Yes,
going to be
it's gonna
great.
be great. I know you sent me a piece of music when I had my little solo vacation.
Mm.
I just listened to it and it was so beautiful,
Thank you.
just so perfect, and that's when I thought, "Oh, gosh, I gotta talk to her," because when something like that flows through you or comes out of you, it's true, you can tell when it's the same when I'm creating art. I can
Mhm.
tell if I'm doing angry strokes or sad strokes or happy, joyous. I mean, you can
Mhm.
feel that
Mhm.
emotion in the art. Same with the music.
Yes.
To put your music to some meditation processes, I think is going to be
Mhm.
incredible. Is music your only vocation or do you have another job as well or
I do have a full-time day job. I work
Mhm.
at a tax firm. I've been doing that a couple of years, and it's been really interesting to me. I've
Yeah.
never had an office job before. I've
Uh-huh.
always been very active. So this is a whole new set of learning new skills, which I love to learn. I've discovered that spreadsheets are so exciting. I love a spreadsheet. I love learning everything about it. Just teach me everything. I want to know everything.
And I'm still learning. I'm taking an art course right now.
Mm.
You know, we're always gonna be learning and expanding and
Mhm.
growing using that in the direction of our sole purpose. So, I find it fascinating that many of the creative people that I talk to, such as you, have other jobs: historian, writer, singer, accountant, lawyer. When you flex that creative muscle, it does give you the ability to perform better at your
Mhm.
day job,
I
you know?
agree.
I tell people at my job, I said, "Do you do any art or do you do anything creative?" And some of them say yes, and some of them say, "Ah, not really." And I'm like, "Why don't you try it? Because I
Yeah.
really think it would be helpful for you."
Mhm.
I mean, helps reduce anxiety, helps depression, eliminates loneliness. I can be same with you when you said I can play for an hour or longer.
Mhm.
I can do art for hours and I'm
Mhm.
not lonely.
No.
I'm just in the zone, I'm in the flow, and I'm loving it. And that's what creativity, it's really a gift that we can give ourselves.
Yes.
Do you sell your music anywhere or do anything like that with it?
I have it on my website, which
Yeah.
I was inspired to build this website a couple of years ago. And I've been slowly getting my music out there. It's taken me a long time to get to that place. The anxiety and just the fear of putting myself out there. Oh, it's not perfect. I can't because it's not perfect. Oh, that's a wrong note or whatever it is in my recordings. Something I learned several years ago that made all the difference for me and actually helped me push forward was better done than perfect.
Absolutely.
And it changed everything for me because it's like, you know what? Most people aren't even going to hear that one note that I hear every time it plays. You know what? It doesn't matter. It does not matter that it's perfect. So that was my turning point, and that is when I said, okay, it's time to do something. Let's actually share it with the world and share it with, more than my husband and my kids, a
Yeah.
couple of my friends. And yeah, it's been so good. It feels so good to just put it out there.
People want the little imperfections
Mhm.
to know that it's real.
Yeah, I agree.
Same with art. I know a lot of artists are, not a lot, but some artists are really kind of fearful of this whole AI thing. And AI doesn't have the emotional connection
No,
that real art or real music does. Just
exactly.
doesn't.
No, it does not.
Keep doing it imperfectly. Imperfect action, right?
Yep, exactly.
Anything else you want to add to our conversation today?
Never be afraid to try new things. I mean, I started a whole new career 3 years ago at, like, 50.
I
Don't
love
be
that.
don't be afraid to change because, I mean, and I did a complete 180. I used to manage an automotive paint store. I mixed paint all day. And, I went from that to an office job that I knew nothing about, and they were kind enough to give me a, a shot. That's been amazing. Don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid to do something completely new. If you see something you're interested in, go do it. Go do the thing because you're not going to know until you actually, I mean, you may end up hating it, but at least you'll know.
And the imperfect action. I mean, that's so important for people to hear too, because
Mhm.
how many times do we get stuck because we're afraid of making a mistake, and that
Constantly.
doesn't move you forward.
Exactly. Yes, better done than perfect. It's life-changing. It really is.
We can use creativity or creative outlets to
Mhm.
help with anxiety, depression, get us through horrible grieving situations and make life better and brighter and more
Yes,
fulfilling. If you're not doing some type of creativity, please do it.
do it.
And I will have Cathy's website linked in the bio, catherinecatterson.com. You can also check out the Ripple experiment is ripple.dawnreneebove.com, and I intend to ripple art and creativities and creatives out into the world. Check both of those out. I love talking with you. She said she was nervous when we first started, but I think you were fine.
Oh,
You
thank you.
shined. Yeah,
Thank
it was
you.
great. So we will catch you next week on the Catch Some Soulshine podcast. Thank you for joining me today with my special guest, Cathy Catterson. If you think you would like to participate in some art projects, I am recording a project once a week on my YouTube channel, Catch Some Soulshine. I do little exercises that really will help your mental health and your well being. Creativity creates new neural pathways in the brain, which strengthens our recovery from grief, trauma, emotion, and makes us a better rounded person. It's been shown to increase productivity in your workplace, no matter what position you have. So, please join me on the Catch Some Soulshine YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe. It really does help me get this out to more people. My intention is to ripple art across the world and Soulshine. All right, I'll see you next week.